Ready. Play.
Hello guys, Sebastian Baez, Mariano Navone, the final of the Rio Open. Two Argentinians in the final of the Rio Open, but the Brazilians did get their buzz for the day, sort of, because for the first time ever, a Brazilian actually won the title. Obviously, it was in doubles with Rafael Matos alongside Nicolas Barrientos of Colombia, beating Erler Miedler, but still, it definitely gave the Brazilian crowd some sort of excitement today. And now it's going to be Mariano Navone against Sebastian Baez. A very exciting final. We've actually never played before. But we've seen Baez against Coria. I feel like in many ways, Navone is somewhat similar to Coria, just with bigger weapons. Maybe not as good a grinder, although that's debatable and maybe could change in the future, but also just a player with, let's say, the same ability to produce angles of the ground and just like sort of outplay the opponent in baseline rallies on clay. And basically, if Mariano Navone wins this match, he could already be in the top 50 and he could already smash the career high of Federico Coria. In fact, if he indeed wins this title, he would be number 40 in the world. Insane? Maybe a little bit, He was 113th at the beginning of the week. Then again, of course, he won 5 challengers last year, so... Sebastian Baez also going for the biggest title of his career, so it's not only Navone who kind of, we have to see how he reacts to the pressure, whether he's going to be able to produce his best in what's a very important match. Baez, obviously, he's won ATP titles before, at least he has that, 2022 Astoril, 2023 Cordoba, Kitzbühel, Hell, Winston-Salem. But at the ATP 500 level, he actually hasn't been. Before this week, he hadn't been even in a semifinal. So for both guys, basically, this is the most important match. This is the most important night of their life, and that could lead to some nervy tennis, but also to a good battle. We'll see. I mean, so far the first 2 points go Baez's way. Navone trying to go back into line here. And missing. Yesterday against Cam Norrie, Navone came out playing with a lot more conviction than in the previous matches. Like, this was truly the first time that we saw Navone like he was on the Challenger Tour. The first few games of the Norrie match. Obviously, then Cam had his physical issues, and all in all, it's not really a performance we can take that much from. However, I think if he plays with the same sort of conviction today, with the same confidence, he's absolutely capable of winning this one. We'll see how Baez looks offensively, because obviously he is a bit of a player who lives and dies by the forehand. He will be dictating more today than he was against Rancerundolo. So, we're going to see how that goes for him. Sebastian Baez claims the first game, not much of a story there. A few early errors from Navone. Let's see if he can sort of ease his way into the match and just grab some better rhythm in the next one after the changeover. The favorite for this one, obviously betting-wise, it was Baez. Personally, I view it as very close. I think there's definitely a bigger chance that Navone doesn't deliver because, for him, it's just a much bigger shock, to be in a match like this. However, I do think that talent-wise, level-wise, they're not too far removed. And actually, Navone is just 2 months younger than Baez, which kind of feels insane, right? Because we've been watching Sebastian Baez for years. But everyone develops at a different time. Baez was, of course, the junior number 1. Navone, I don't think he had a junior career, or at least I don't remember him from the juniors. I will actually check that. I mean, he probably had a junior career, but probably it wasn't just, too flashy, is what I mean. But I don't know. So far, Navone seems pretty willing to go for his shots. Maybe sometimes too much, like on this backhand, but the previous +1 was really good. And Mariano Navone in the juniors was, 19,000 was his career high ranking. 19,000, 1900, of course. In fact, I think he only played 2 matches in ITF juniors, so that's why. So yeah, I mean, very different tracks of progress, very different careers. But all in all, I don't think that Baez is, scandalously better than Mariano Navone. I don't think Baez has a very big edge than over Navone in terms of, just talent quality. So let's see. I think it's certainly an exciting final. The Golden Swing so far has been delivering in the unexpected, I would say, or at least slightly unexpected. Luciano Darderi having a breakthrough this huge, Facundo Diaz Acosta having a breakthrough this huge. It would make sense, honestly, if Navone won this title in a way, because I think he was expected, like we expected more from him probably than from Diaz Acosta or or Darderi in the Golden Swing. Right now, after seeing what Diaz Acosta did in Buenos Aires, I think actually Diaz Acosta has maybe more long-term top 50 prospects. But then again, I mean, Navone wins this match and he's 40th in the world. So, well, the rankings are a funny thing. Of course, it's all relative. Buenos Aires and Rio also were technically the same field, like in terms of the quality and the strength of the players, more or less. This could have been a great point for Navone. I think a really nice way for him to kickstart the match. However, he misses the final backhand line. Dictating of the forehand here, he forces Baez to slice. Yeah, he makes the last shot, and it's really a wonderful point. But anyway, he's still 40-30, so no harm done yet. Not too pleased about himself there. I think the Baez returns skids off the line. I would assume so. Navone is going to try to check the mark, but probably to no avail. He's asking the umpire to come down. Apparently, there is some doubt, at least, in Navone's mind. But yeah, it's going to be in. On the replay, it's actually very tough to tell, yeah. Anyway, I believe we're going to be at deuce now because of that. Yes, indeed. Again, tries to go back and down the line. Navone may be a little optimistic on this, and well, that one finisher that he had at 40-15, that was when he really like had the position to go for a shot like this. Here, to be honest with you, it was a little uncalled for, I would say, to risk that hard. And that's a breakpoint for Sebastian Baez in the second game after Navone led 40-15. Another deep forehand return from the more experienced of the two Argentinians, which I can't say older or younger because, again, they're only 2 months away from each other in terms of the birth date. And Baez eventually forces an error out of Navone. So the first 2 games go the way of the smaller of the two Argentinians. It's all our Argentines. It's always very hard to sort of when you're watching 2 players of the same nation, right? And you can't use that the player, well, that player. So I'll basically probably be saying like Sebita or Mariano as well, because why not, or Sebastian, because well, in order not to just go Navone and Baez all the time. Mark checking again. Navone is again calling the umpire to come. But again, I don't think he'll be pleased with what he hears. I mean, yeah, again, it's on the line. Yeah, and here we can see it clearly as well on the close-up that we got. Definitely touched the line, so that's an ace out wide for Sebastian Baez. Yeah, that 40-15, I mean, we are on clay, obviously. Dropping a couple of games is honestly not that important for the most part. But it does have to like feel a little worrisome for Navone that he lost that second game from 40-15 up, right? Because of course he's the player who's like, yeah, less experienced, and he will be hoping to just get himself into that groove, get himself a game on the board, and just sort of loosen up. Whereas Baez, it seems like, has started already kind of, yeah, just going well, playing pretty freely simply, and that forehand perhaps is the best example of that, as the loopy heavy return from Navone was kind of tough, but Baez just goes for the forehand cross, very sharp angle, the kind of shot you play when you believe in yourself. So we'll see how much that 40-15 miss will end up haunting Navone. And it wasn't anything crazy. It was still a pretty low percentage shot that he had to hit there, but certainly an opportunity missed given he was in control of the point. And to be fair, Baez has been sort of shrinking the court very well so far and really lowering these margins for Navone as well. And yeah, so far this has been a very good start for the former junior world number one. This point is great too. I mean, he gets a tough ball from Navone here right on the baseline, somehow manages to get it done, and then off the high octane forehand from Navone, he's able to get the counter down the line, 40-15. And I think that's an ace as well, so it's free love Baez, very quick hold, and he is definitely in pole position to take the opening set. We'll see. That's not me speaking on the chat, Philip. In case you were referring to, you might see me. That's John, who's in Rio de Janeiro currently. I don't know if I've spotted him so far, but we will see. Hello, Ashley, as well. I'm gonna look for John then if there's any close-ups. But anyway, Navone will probably have to focus on serve and not on watching John's face presently. It does seem kind of vital for him to stop the little patch of games that Baez has had so far. The two aces in the previous game as well, just really making it feel like more of a landslide so far, which it hasn't been, obviously. 40-15 Navone in the second game of the match, but all in all, it's just something that Navone has to put a stop to pretty shortly if he's gonna fight for the opening set. The good thing for him is that I don't think, at least, that he has come tight or anything, or he's going through his motions, he's producing the strokes normally. Just so far, it's been a very solid match from Baez, and let's see if Navone can match that and probably even out-hit him, because the last service game of Navone was actually with Mariano dictating most of the points, and Baez was definitely defending quite well. Pretty hard so far to get an error out of Baez. Well, just as I say it, of course, he does commit a backhand unforced error. That sort of helping hand in this game could be very, very useful for Navone, given where we are in the set and how the first few games have gone. Generally, you would expect Navone to be a little more, I don't know if solid in these backhand to backhand rallies, but definitely the one who can like accelerate through the shot a lot better, especially like when it's a bit wrist high. It's quite a stunning shot from Navone, often redirecting down the line with it. But now it's actually Baez who gets him on the move with this forehand counter. Navone trying to go down the line, just a very low margin shot here, out of position, and he doesn't make it. I believe that's out as well. The serve was pretty close to hitting an ace himself, though. Navone, see, not doesn't happen to him all that often. Double faults probably doesn't happen to him all that often either, but it's just really not what he wants right now. That first forehand from Navone, barely making it into the court. And he once again just snaps at it, tries to go back and down the line and misses it. There's been a lot of decision making like this so far from Navone. And well, so far I think he's missed all of these attempts. I can't really remember him landing a backhand down the line so far. Cross court, yes, he's had a couple of winners, but well, maybe a couple is also a stretch. I definitely remember one. But down the line so far, redirecting that backhand, not really landing any of these so far. This time he tries, goes for a more solid approach. Eventually, he's the one prevailing in that sort of backhand exchange. Even if a couple of these have seemed uptight as well, just yeah. It's a serve on the line, and Baez can't handle the bad bounce that it got. So back to deuce, and obviously I do not have to tell you how important this game is for Navone. Even on clay, a low 4 lead in your first ATP Tour final is not easy. This is getting pretty interesting. Baez gets his opportunity to strike the inside-out forehand. He should be cleaning up this point, but he kind of gives it back to Navone, he will catch the shot, but eventually Baez is just going to have an easy pass. But definitely Baez made it a bit trickier than it needed to be by repeating the direction on this forehand. Still, the volley was good enough to eventually get him there. So one more breakpoint for the former junior world number one. Gustavo Kurten in the stands, David Ferrer as well. They're sitting together. I wonder if they actually played ever. I would guess not, but It's possible somewhere early in Ferrer's career. Well, actually, in like 2000. Well, I guess Querten was already like almost out of the sport in like 2005. He kind of came back for a while, but yeah, I would assume that they probably would, like, if they did, it's like 1 or 2 matches only. I'm gonna check that. In fact, yeah, it is 2 matches: 2003 Acapulco and 2004 Buenos Aires. So not this event, but a couple of Golden Swing ones. I think, in fact, it would be impossible for them to meet at this event since it's only been existing since like 2014. And Mariano Navone loses this break as well. I mean, this was a much better point from him. He generated a couple of very offensive forehands, especially that one down the line, and then he followed it up to the net and missed the volley. So, I mean, some positives to take away from the last point, maybe even in terms of the fact that he was able to transition to the net, but certainly a bit of nerves are showing through. Maybe if he irons this out, maybe we're still gonna get a set out of it, and maybe we're still gonna get a match out of it. Who knows? Now it's Baez with just 2 random forehand errors, and this is kind of more of what. Well, I'm not saying I expect that from Baez all the time, but like the first 4 games have been really clean from him, like really, really clean. So at least from time to time, he should be able to grant Navone an error or two. And of course, given that it's Love 4 and this Love 30 opportunity certainly feels like something that Navone will have to take. But this bounce will not really allow him to have a shot in the third point. He both sort of looks a little clumsy so far on these backhands, lacking that extra conviction that he came out with yesterday. But yeah, a bounce like this isn't gonna help, obviously. He gets the return in play here, backhand line, but it's not like one of these, point ending ones. Lots of loop here. Here he speeds it up a little bit on the backhand. Baez not willing to give him another error yet, and it's going to be Navone who misses first, trying to slide into his backhand and just barely missing it behind the baseline. So things are sort of restored by Baez after these 2 first forehand errors in the game. Back to 30 all, and well, kind of 2 points away from the set. I mean, you would imagine that at 5 love, Sebastian Baez cleans up. It's a good serve. Baez will be. I don't know if they will be checking the mark, actually. To me, it kind of looked in, but I don't know. Yeah, Baez will actually just clean up the mark. I don't know who stopped play though, because I'm watching on mute. Yeah, it wasn't Baez, so we are replaying the point. Another shot which lands at exactly the same spot, honestly, from Navone. This is definitely quite good from him in terms of using the angles, the variety, but how is he gonna hit through Baez here? He tries to go for a drop shot eventually because he just kind of runs out of answers and he's unable to provide it. He just slides it into the net, more or less. But yeah, this was kind of as good as you can get here for the most part, and he still couldn't find his way through Baez, who, like, on the defense has just been incredibly solid so far. It's hard to end the point. It's hard to force an error out of him. I mean, the drop shot was an okay play, but it was certainly kind of forced as well by just hitting 10 pacey shots, hitting a lot of good angles, varying the height as Navone does. well again, and then just Baez feeds off of that. I mean, he just gets everything back. And again, Navone is attacking, and just Baez gets everything back into the court. Finally, he's unable to find that last one. I mean, Navone had to accelerate so much on his forehand here. This is gonna take, like, if Baez is playing like this is gonna take like a legendary effort from Navone to win this match. Honestly, yeah, just going all out on the attack and somehow making his way through, because the last couple of points, Sebastian Baez, even though he lost one of them, I mean, he was just defending like a madman. But that's a cheapish error from Baez. Again, not forced by Navone. Like, whenever there's space coming at Baez so far, he's just handling it incredibly well. But sometimes he will give you a shot where he's the one generating. And, well, maybe that's a bit of a strategy. But then again, you can't leave it too short for Baez and too easy for Baez either, right? So it will be a hard balance for Navone to find, I think. Well, he does here. Just again gives Baez a few off-pace shots. I would say he gets the break for one. Who knows? I mean, he's definitely finding his range, if you may, Navone. I wonder if that's not a little too late for this set, but it does give you a bit of a, second set might be more competitive. Obviously now 4-1. Let's assume he holds. It's 4-2. Things could become quite interesting still. Gustavo Kuerten getting an applause from the crowd. Of course, looks like he's still a massive hero in Brazil. He, of course, won the French Open three times, 1997, 2000, and 2001. Some amazing efforts, of course, even on hard courts, and just an insane career. Especially considering in 1997, no one was expecting that title from him. Still applauding him. It's been like 40 minutes, and everyone seems extremely happy to have him there, which is definitely nice to see. I guess this isn't a very regular occurrence to have Gustavo Kuerten at this event, because, well, the people definitely made it seem like it's not. As I said, the Rio Open was not really existing at the time when he was playing, so well, he couldn't win it. However, he did win twice in Brazil, in Costa da Sauípe. It was another event in São Paulo before the São Paulo ATP 250 was introduced, which I don't think. Yeah, I mean, it's not around anymore either, but it was around until 2019, often playing indoors. I don't think Costa do Sauípe played indoors though. But yeah, there used to be an indoor clay event. Again, Navone sort of opening up that angle for Baez on the forehand cross, and, well, maybe if he didn't lose his balance, he would get there. But it's a dangerous game, let's say, because Baez certainly feels very confident there so far, and once again he finds the shot. Baez also losing his balance right after hitting it, so it wasn't far from both players landing on the ground. Actually, neither did, but like they both kind of slipped around the same time. The difference was that Baez hit the winning shot and then slipped. Navone, I don't think it really mattered though. I think he would have struggled to get that Baez forehand anyway. But yeah, this is the key game as well for Navone, in terms of, like, you got the break, but, like, are you gonna be able to make it worth anything? 15 all now as Baez sails back and long. well, long and wide. Not that it matters. It's actually even kind of tougher sometimes on the on Navone's serve, because he needs to like somehow blast his way through Baez, and usually he's the one starting the points. He's the one, accelerating. He's the one creating the openings, and Baez just handles all that pace coming at him so well. Navone is starting to at least like hit these combinations, and here he finds the backhand cross, which finally makes Baez, commit a forced error. Because I feel like up until this point, well, maybe still, like Baez might have more unforced errors than forced errors. Like literally anything that's on his racket, it's gonna come back. And what a reactive return here as well. 30 all. Finds the backhand down the line here, which I'm not shocked that Navone didn't even flinch to it. But at least there's been like a more regular rhythm to the rallies as well, which Navone will certainly enjoy. We'll see. I mean, this is still an absolutely crucial game in terms of him potentially fighting back for the first set. Again, has Baez on the move, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, everything is coming back. Baez raises the ball a little too much here, though. Navone stepping around and blasting that forehand cross. And this is actually a very good patch for him. I mean, the last 10 shots, Gustavo Kuerten nods in approval. And Baez misses the forehand, so it's 4-2. And, well, at least on paper, we are one break away from being back, on level terms. I mean, if Navone got to 4-all, for example, that would be insane from that love for start, from starting so tight as well. But of course, the next game is somewhat crucial in this regard as well. He hasn't allowed himself much room for error, and Baez also is still like defending incredibly well. It's more so when he's the one trying to dictate that he's missing, but when there's space coming at him, yeah, again, very good squash shot here. But I think Navone should eventually win this point. Yes, indeed. And right now he's actually hitting through Baez. He's managing to do it, and it takes a lot of amazing angles. It takes fantastic ball striking, but for now, the last 2 games or so, maybe even 3, he is able to provide it. I don't know. Of course, yeah. Again, he has no margin for error in this game. In the set, literally one game can end it all. To me, that was in, yeah, and they're playing. Baez misses first, so it's love 30, and like all the momentum of the world is right now with Navone. All the momentum in this match has shifted completely. It's still not obvious. I mean, it's only love 30 at 4-2. Of course, these players can't fully rely on their serving either. So even if he breaks, it won't be that fantastic of a position yet. But like, yeah, right now one guy is flying, and it's not Baez anymore, even though he's still handling pace coming at him very well. That for sure. And this should be a point for Baez, really, although it's a bit of an unpleasant bounce, but he manages to get the job done anyway. I was a little afraid for Baez here, because that's forehand squash shot from Navone. It seemed like it will just really fall out of his comfort zone, but eventually Baez runs up to it and still manages to find a good enough angle for Navone to have a very tricky forehand pass to make. Big reaction from Baez as well. Of course, he also sees what's happening, right? I mean, he knows that now he has to stop the bleeding and the momentum that we've seen in the past few minutes really go towards Navone. And that's a good way to do it. It's just a decent serve down the tee. And once he gets higher return, not even a shorter return, he's just stepping into the forehand without any issues. This is probably the best shot of Baez as well, right? That forehand inside out. When the ball is just like a little higher, for him, a lot of balls are shoulder height basically, but yeah, he cracks that shot very well. It can break down a little bit, but generally I would say that's probably his best shot anyway. Yesterday it had major patches against Cerundolo where it wasn't landing, but of course after that Fran just completely fell apart after the 3 set points he missed. And now it is Baez who lures the error out of Navone. So from low 30, he has done very well to get himself into the 40-30 position and have a shot at leading 5-2. And Navone misses the return. So it is 5-2 now. Baez stops the bleeding. He stops the rut that he was in since For Love. And still, Navone has definitely given himself some positive thoughts to sort of just know that he's there with the level. I don't know if he can turn around the set. I mean, we will find out very shortly, but he will not be feeling like a much worse player going into the second set, that's for sure. No, actually, Sean, but in Rio he was hitting it incredibly well. Like this is just a different backhand than Fonseca used to have, Like his backhand used to be somewhat unimpressive, and in Rio it like had the perfect combination of consistency, pace, margin, the technique. I mean, yeah. So if you showed him something from Rio, I absolutely agree. And it's a big improvement as well towards his ceiling or like even his quality that he can reach right now. Absolutely. So I think that we're probably going to find out like whether it stays like this, but I would assume so. I mean, why not? If he's done some good work on it, it's probably going to stay like this. It's actually going to be very interesting to see how he performs in Santiago now against Tirante. Will it be the same type of like home crowd? Well, not home crowd anymore. I mean, will it be the same magic without the home crowd? Will it be the same sort of level of determination and focus? He's playing Tirante as well at altitude, which is usually quite tough because Tirante is basically just a serve and forehand bot. And well, he has most of his points from quicker clay conditions. However, he has already beaten Tirante in his young career as well. And that was the same event where he beat Navone, 2022 Sao Leopoldo, the challenger, where he reached the quarterfinals with, well, basically, as a shock because he beat a couple of very good players and then still played a decent match against Baez, even though he was so high up in the junior rankings and the UTR rated him so highly. But yeah, Fonseca Tirante definitely one of the matches to watch, I think, in Santiago to see if Joao can keep going in a different event as well, and if he's already there, because in January he had some extremely good performances, but also had some absolutely horrific sets. I think even maybe the worst set that he played was against Felix Gil in a match he won, but the opening set there was just absolutely disastrous. And when he played someone like Popko Komesania, he just couldn't produce the required consistency whatsoever. Against Lavagno, he was actually even like kind of out-hit, Fonseca, which I know sounds crazy after Rio, but he was. The lefty Italian was just kind of blowing him off the court. And well, that's why it's going to be quite exciting to see if Fonseca's disposition, if Fonseca's mindset, attitude from Rio transcends to other events, even if obviously I believe that it eventually will. Baez equals Fonini Jr. I would like to hear why. Definitely the work ethic is different, right? The work ethic is probably the least, let's say, professional and hardworking player in Fonini, and then one of the most in Baez. Someone who like needs to work everything out and sort of earn everything that he gets. Where and on the other hand, you have Fonini who barely moves his feet and is just so incredibly talented that he still manages to, be well at least managed for years to be one of the best players in the world. And I'm not saying he didn't work hard. I mean, if he didn't, he probably wouldn't be 10 times the player that he was. But I'm just trying to say that you don't really see that effort. And of course, often on the court, he would have some major motivational issues. So even if some effort had to be put in, some hard work and professional effort, you don't see it technically, since, well, most years he's so effortless and just makes it look so easy. It's gonna be a set point for Baez as well at 5-2. Finally, sort of managing to get that deeper shot at the Navone backhand, which seems to be a bit of a remedy for him today. He's just definitely not hitting some of these too deep when he's too close to the body as well. And then Baez just steps into his inside in forehand and eventually gets the error. So it's a set point now, but the return is out. Small but wide bodies for both. Both play much better on clay compared to other surfaces. I mean, maybe even Navone has a more similar body type to Fonini, I would say, than Baez. I probably see more similarities in the ball striking of Navone than Baez to Fonini, to be honest. And yeah, body type as well. Another bit of very good defending from the Argentinian here. Well, from both Argentinians again, from Baez. And again, it's a deep shot to the Navone backhand that just makes him mistime the next one. I don't think he's even positioning himself right for all of these, he's just hitting them very tight, very close to the body. And, well, that also could be a sign of nerves, of course, when even your motions are a little bit uptight. And it just isn't as easy for you to get into your natural hitting zone. This could be the set for Baez, and indeed he turns around another point. He's been able to do it really all set long. This besides like a 5-minute patch for Navone, which of course was not enough. Of course, there's still a lot of time, and the last 4 games, especially, they kind of beg the question of what will happen when we're starting from scratch in the second set, almost from scratch at least. And if we're gonna see more of the patterns that we had in the opener, in the first 4 games of the opener, or in the last 4 games of the opener. Somehow Sebastian Baez has won every single second serve point, but I also don't think the sample size has been huge since he's making 87% of them. Baez is definitely the player on the main tour who is hitting his first serve the most often. Second one in the top 50 is Alexander Zverev. So definitely two very different styles of serving. But yeah, Baez seems to be getting quite a lot out of his, and Navone just 11% of points won on his second serve too. And that's obviously not ideal. And I think it kind of represents the fact that sometimes on the Baez serve, sometimes it's on the Baez serve that we've been seeing like more action from Navone's side of the court, right? I mean, he has to attack on by behind his own serve, like he has to be the one in control of the point, and sometimes it's not even giving him any benefits. But yeah, so far Baez definitely so sharp defensively. Basically, any faster shot from Navone still gets returned. It doesn't really create any openings for Mariano when he's trying to up the pace, when he's trying to inject more of it. Baez has just been so good at turning points around in this match that it's been a little impossible for Navone to blast his way through him. But of course, yeah, the last 4 games were definitely a lot more hopeful for a competitive match here. So we'll see. I think it was probably Navone taking a bit of a break. Anyway, we are back on the court now anyway, so. Of course, this match ends the ATP Tour for the week. We've already had the doubles final earlier today. Barrientos Matos winning that over Erler Miedler. And of course, Doha and Los Cabos already had their finals on Saturday. Oof, Navone at the net for like the second time in the match. And again, he misses this one an even easier volley. This approach was a little forced, but still, he had a play on it and easily could have done that. That's a massive acceleration from Navone here, though, on the forehand. Even Sebastian Baez doesn't get that. In fact, it's sometimes easier to surprise him with that, right? Just some random injection of pace out of nowhere rather than the more, let's say, constant stuff, more than the continuous pressure when Baez is just able to slide from one corner to another and get all of these shots back. But here, with that one massive injection, he was not able to handle it. But Navone will have to be making more of his returns, as the last 2 service games of Baez, I think there's been again some free points that, of course, he doesn't necessarily want to give away at this stage, especially against someone like Baez, who's like really, making a lot of these first serves, so in turn not risking too much on them. But yeah, the quality of the defensive footwork from Navone today has not been as high as Baez's for sure. If we sort of swapped their abilities today and gave Navone, some the firepower of Navone, the defensive footwork of Baez, that player would win against the combination of the other two, 6-2, 6-2. And maybe in fact Sebastian Baez will win 6-2, 6-2 against Mariano Navone. Who knows? As that's another unreturned serve coming from Baez. So he starts the second set with a hold. Of course, that was also how it went in the first set. And then in the second game of the opener, Mariano was 40-15 up, missed a backhand down the line at 40-15. And from that point onwards, it kind of all went downhill for him. But yeah, we are once again entering that crucial territory where like Navone is kind of hanging on for dear life and basically has to win every game where he's in that scenario, right? Where Baez held and now he is forced to, because a couple of weaker points here and the scoreboard pressure might be getting really tough on him, especially in his first ATP Tour final. Which again, for Baez, it would also be the first 500 that he wins, but it's definitely a lot easier to handle that if you've been there before many times, even at the lower category. Wow, that's an awesome forehand line from Baez as well. I mean, a net court from Navone kind of made the ball sit up, sure, but takes a lot of conviction to go for that shot here. And he definitely has it today, way more than Navone. Yeah, and that's a +1 forehand that goes long from Navone too. I don't know if he landed that, but it turns out he did. But Navone is playing with fire here. Yeah, forehand inside out on the line. I think both players were up until the last possible moment, up until when the ball bounced, they were absolutely unsure if this was gonna go in. And yeah, playing with fire does not bode well for him, especially as he misses another one. So the last 3 points have basically been +1 forehand unforced error, +1 forehand winner, +1 forehand unforced error. And this one, it was just completely mistimed. Like it was even hard to say if it was going to be similarly aggressive. The first one definitely was not. Ooh, that was barely in from Navone. Again, he is really balancing on a thin line. But that thin line so far has managed to withstand the weight of his expectations and weight of the pressure on him. As Baez misses a forehand long. Can't be missing neutral rally shots right now, and that's basically what it was. I mean, it had a nice angle on it if it goes in, but there was also not that much of a point in it being so close to the line. Wouldn't really have opened up the court for him anyway, I think. And that's 2 games to love for Sebastian Baez. Again, Navone just sort of pushed into his backhand corner and he even can't slice it back. I don't know. I mean, maybe he's a little tired as well, but the quality when stretched to the corner, very, very different between these two today, for sure. Navone sort of had these two massive games when he was blasting the ball, when he was so dominant, but once it ends, he just hasn't been able to turn points around as effectively as Baez. In fact, I mean, here he didn't really give himself a shot to turn the point around. Yeah, and the first forehand from Baez, lots of power again on that inside out. Once the return is a little too high from Navone, a little too down the middle, Baez is just cracking it. It's actually kind of interesting, how good he is of that shoulder height ball, but probably a requirement with his both with the combination of his play style and the height. He gets a lot of shots in that sort of range and needs to be able to handle them somehow. And again, misses another forehand return, Navone. And Baez is just dominating on the forehand side here. Another missed return as well. I mean, Sebastian Baez is like kind of like John Isner here, and partially, I mean, he's getting good spot serving, I sure, but also Navone should absolutely be putting more results into that. Oh, thank you, Jane, for the 6K. Yeah, we got that yesterday actually, but I think it was off stream, so we didn't have that nice moment. Yeah. I know what you mean, Tops, with the bend body. Yeah. He has this very weird body type. Yeah. I actually think it looked a lot more normal live than on the feed. Live, I wasn't noticing it all that much, but here when they're showing him from that TV camera, he like you can see it in almost all the frames, basically. Ghosty will be pleased that Molchan made it through qualies. Indeed, that happened in Santiago. He's gonna be there, and he's going to play. Now I'm forgetting. Federico Coria, of course. Yeah, that's actually a pretty well. Again, I mean, I'm living in a bubble, but this is a bit of a famous matchup because they've played in 2021, 2022. They definitely played a final in Prostayov. That was in June 2021, I think. So that was around the time when Molchan made the Belgrade final. And after that, he came to the challenger level. He lost to Korea in the final of Prostayov. And they played like 3 or 4 times in that 2021-2022 stretch. I think it's pretty close between them as well. So it's definitely a matchup with a history. Korea against Molchan in Santiago. And that's actually going to be tomorrow as well. So Ghosty will have to watch. Let's see how much Navone can create here. He goes to the net. He manages to get the backhand line in. 2-6, love 3 down. He needs to start getting into this, but it's obviously going to be pretty tough. does not seem at his freshest. Also, whenever he's actually like injecting even more pace, then sometimes it even feeds Baez. So how do you win a match like this from this scenario? It's not easy, and he will need to find the answers relatively quickly. Wow, what a forehand from Baez. That's insane. It's just a spotless inside in now. 200 an hour, and also how well placed. And another backhand miss from Navone here. Yeah, it's looking rough for him at the moment. There's not been any like apparent, physical exhaustion or anything, but you can see he's not exactly exploding out of the corners like usual, which might be honestly just mental as well because well, it's not like he had a long match yesterday, right? And again, he misses the backhand cross. I mean, he's absolutely just falling apart here. Probably both mentally and physically as well. So might be a tough loss for Navona here. But then again, he upped his ranking by 53 spots, right? And he managed to make an ATP 500 final. Is he going to be able to even get this point? Yeah, he is. Baez will miss the lob, but again, he had to hit a couple more shots than, usually you would think would end the point. But that's how well Sebastian Baez has been defending. Gets it back to deuce. Trying to extend his life in this match. We'll see how successful he can get, but Baez tries to go for an angle that's just too sharp on the inside-out backhand, so still a game point for Navone. Maybe with some hope to turn this set around, but definitely not too bright anyway. Like 3-1 and Baez looking so much fresher, so much springier, so much more. Even like getting a lot of better penetration on the forehand actually than Navone. Navone is like more about speeding up suddenly, but Baez when he finds an opening he can also crack that forehand so well. And now there's a ball on the line as well from Baez. It slides off it and basically doesn't allow Navone to produce the shot. So we are at deuce again and almost like 2 points away from basically Baez wrapping up the match. He gets that forehand inside out, Baez, but will he be able to take the opportunity? He misses it eventually after a few shots that Navone gets back. Once again, it's advantage Navone, as he is trying to post his first game of the second set. This should be done by Navone. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, again, that's credit to Baez. Actually, he's really running like a madman today. Probably Navone's best serve of the match. He gets a drive volley put away. Actually, hits it pretty well, but Baez is there with this insane lob, and Navone misses the smash into the net. You could see that on the drive. He was very comfortable, but when it came to the smash here, that already was a much bigger issue. Yeah, Baez against some phenomenal pickups. Just makes the court look so small from Navone's perspective that Navone tries to go for this forehand inside out, which is basically like, well, actually down the line more so, that it's just extremely risky to go for an angle like this. But I guess he didn't see any other choice with how Baez is just getting everything back. More often than not, when Navone gets a bit of a foothold in this match, at least for a rally or two, Baez just kind of closes the door with that insane scrambling, and it's not like he's not firing back himself if you are too passive against him either. So yeah, again goes for too much, trying to basically force his way through, just force his way through the door, and that's not going to be a good idea. You need to either call a locksmith or you need to have a key. And today he does not have a key, or he also doesn't have a phone to call the locksmith even. That's the worst, when you lock yourself out of the apartment and the phone is inside. And that's kind of what Navone is in today right now. It's a nice counter from him, and he eventually gets the point. So this is what it takes for Baez to miss. You basically need to drag him around the court for like 20 shots, and then you finally hit an angle that's insane enough for Baez to have to cover like half the planet in order to get there, and then eventually Baez will miss. Okay, that's the blueprint. That now Navone is gonna win this match. Now he knows. Misses the backhand line here again. Yeah, just trying to go for too much time and time again. Is it tiredness? Is it just Baez's insane defense? Take your pick. But anyway, it's not going to work. And when it comes to these players in Santiago, by the way, Navone is going to play against Juan Pablo Varillas in the first round. If he recovers physically, it's a pretty decent first round. I mean, Varillas is wildly out of form right now, but it also could be a good opportunity for the Peruvian to get a win. Let me see the breakpoint, and I will tell you then where Baez is placed in the draw. Still rallying. Baez hit this shot right on the baseline. And it's going to be Navone cracking first in the backhand exchange. So once again, 6-2 for love. He's not looking too bright physically today. And along with the level of Baez, it's very hard to see him winning this match from this position. Sebastian Baez is the second seed, and this actually could be a match right away in the second round in Santiago if Navone beats Varillas. So they might actually face each other again. But all in all, I have to say that this would be a pretty funny story as well, as Baez, literally in Buenos Aires, he beat Darderi in the second round, who was the Cordoba champion. In Rio de Janeiro, he beat Diaz Acosta, who was the Buenos Aires champion. So if Navone won here, which at this stage seems extremely unlikely, but still, if Navone won here, and Baez beat him in the second round in Santiago, that would be like a perfect 3-week stretch of literally the same pattern. However, of course, for that, Mariano Navone needs to win this final, and that is extremely unlikely to happen at this stage. 6-2 for love. Baez is completely dominating so far. He misses this backhand here, but well, even if we have a patch like in the first set, where from 4-love Navone won 2 games and also was love 30 in the next one on the Baez serve, this time it doesn't feel real, right? I mean, this time it doesn't feel like he would actually have a big chance of claiming the set. And yeah, Baez now with this lob as well. I mean, I don't know if he wins the point, but it's really hard to find something that Baez hasn't executed well today. And indeed, he wins it eventually. Navone going for the big backhand down the line counter because he has no other ideas right now. That's a great point from him, though. Baez with a backhand slice that was really low actually, and Navone just managing to whip it cross court before eventually claiming this backhand winner. It's one of the best points of the match, but it comes late, that's for sure. 15:30 though, so an opportunity to at least get that game on the board. I think with how well Baez has been defending, and also how, like, if Navone goes to passive, he actually outhits him and, well, also is able to, just prevail. He kind of needs to be playing, like, the last couple of rallies, but that takes a lot of energy to just sort of continuously go for this very, very long rally with Baez while still keeping good depth, keeping good height, not giving him too much of an angle, whereas at the same time you cannot be like overhitting. It would take a very long grind for Navone to try to win a match like this, and well, basically today he doesn't have it. He might have this game though. Baez on the defense. Of course, he makes every shot back, because why wouldn't he? But finally, Navone cleans it up at the net. So he has a game here. He's telling the crowd to cheer. We'll see. Is that actually going to mean anything at 6-2 for love? I don't know, but certainly a couple of really good combinations from Navone here. And he will need to keep up that level to hang with Baez. Jean says, I doubt Navone wins his first round in Santiago. Well, watching this final, I doubt it too. In general, he was definitely the favorite on Varillas. I mean, Varillas is completely done right now. He's 0-7 for the year. But given what we're seeing here and how Navone isn't too fresh, then again, it's Santiago. They might give him like let's say Tuesday in the evening. Maybe if there's rain, maybe they'll even Wednesday. Uh, it's not impossible, but I kind of doubt his recovery. But then again, yeah, Varias sucks so much right now that it's not even funny. And it's a shame because last year in the Golden Swing, he actually had a very strong patch. I mean, he did after Buenos Aires, he kind of, lost in the second round of Rio and first round of Santiago, but he did lose to Baez and Jari and was still playing very well in these matches, but obviously had the best run of his career in Buenos Aires as well. So he's lost that. He's going to have a final at Sanremo to defend and also the fourth round at the French Open. Obviously, that's the biggest one. Also had a couple of main tour quarterfinals later in the season, but all in all, yeah, after the French Open, we might see Varias at like 150 in the rankings if he doesn't get anything going soon. But I'm assuming if he starts hitting the European clay challengers or maybe even the South American ones really soon, he probably should at some point recover, obviously. And yeah, that Santiago win or two could definitely go a long way as well. Maybe Baez will withdraw from Santiago after he wins Rio. There would kind of be no point in Baez playing Santiago, right? I think he might actually do that because if you think about it, like Indian Wells and Miami are coming, he's seeded for both, right? So I actually think that Baez could be skipping Santiago. I would at least if I was him because it kind of doesn't make sense to me to play Santiago after winning the title in Rio. But we'll see. I just feel like it would actually be just better for his Indian Wells Miami chances to go to the States and not sort of overplay. But we'll see. Anyhow, Navone is serving at 1-4 now. Let's see how much he still has left, both of fight and energy. That's a great angle from him. He goes down the line now to the net, but it will be hard for him to win this point. Yeah, just zero clarity in the forecourt, honestly, and Baez gets that overhead to the backhand side of Navone, which is always a little trickier. He tries to drive volley it, but it's not a good attempt. Yeah. +1 forehand goes way wide as well. Doesn't seem like that one game will end up changing the outcome of the match or even the course of the set so far. Almost finds this sharp inside in forehand bias. So 30 all. Navone is still fighting, still in the game, but I understand if the crowd is not perhaps that engaged, or in general viewers all around the world are not that engaged because he still hasn't demonstrated he can do it. I quite like Mahaj's throw next week, says Gene. I've been keen on him since he played that match against Nola in Dubai last year. Yeah, he plays Bublik. I think this is a very winnable opener. And after that, I honestly didn't look, but I will do it now. But yeah, Mahaj, the Dubai courts definitely suit him. Of course, as you mentioned, that match against Djokovic was great. The way he was, it's just a quick surface. You can take the ball early and redirect down the line. Indoors is still the preferable conditions for me for Mahaj, but if there's like a hard court that I think he can really succeed on in the world, it might be this one. I mean, outdoor hard court. But yeah, after that he would play Griekspoor or Shelby. Yeah, it all looks pretty doable. I mean, definitely Mahaj since the beginning of the season has been showing that it's just making a big deal of difference that he's right now sort of on the main tour regularly, because for years he was struggling to get there. For years he was struggling to like fully establish himself here, but now that he's actually playing ATP Tour events week in week out, we can just see that he's a very worthy addition, which I guess we were expecting, but it's just nice to see that. I mean, good to see it in practice. Anyway, 6251 is Sebastian Baez will serve for the match. His fifth ATP title, but first above the 250 level if he can get it done. And a big forehand here kind of suggests that as he goes up 15 love. 2 points away from the title now, Sebastian Baez. As well, this has not been a good final, but it's been a good title and a good week and a great achievement for him for sure. Gonna have to smash here. I like how he takes it casually, just sort of waits for Navone to show in which direction he'll be guessing, and then very smoothly puts it away with a bit of slice as well, with a bit of spin on it. And that's out. So Sebastian Baez claims the title in Rio. 6-2, 6-1. Fifth ATP Tour title. Fourth on clay, of course. One was in Winston-Salem last year. But yeah, the final wasn't great. I mean, Navone, it can be a bit of a hit to his confidence, sure. But at the same time, we don't know how he felt. So like maybe he will just, be feeling that, okay, so I didn't have enough left, mentally or physically, doesn't really matter. Or honestly, I think it's very likely that after a couple of days, he's just gonna be feeling that, okay, I mean, I lost in the final and it was a pretty brutal defeat, but I still made the final of the effing Rio Open, right? And basically that's how he should be considering this. He looked great in qualies. That's what Mahaj, right? Yeah. I mean, when he played Bautista good today, maybe not a great opener, but after that, like once he found his range, there's no match anymore. And honestly, he should be pushing through that qualifying draw very easily at this stage. But yeah, Baez, great match as well. Regardless of sort of what was happening on the other side of the net, I think he really took away all of the options for Navone. That was what I was going for with that metaphor earlier about the locksmith and the lacking a key and a phone to call a locksmith. When Navone got locked out of his apartment, basically Baez would like still crack the forehand whenever possible, but so you couldn't like play passive, you couldn't leave it too short for him. But then at the same time, if Navone tried to up the pace, tried to hit some more risky combinations, Baez's defense was just like way too strong as well, and would just shrink the court for him really well too. A couple of these misses, like the smash that Navone had, I mean, we are going to sort of remember that point. It's memorable, but that's a forced error to me. Like that's almost a forced error, because the way that Sebastian Baez gets the previous ball and sort of gets it back with interest, gets it back deep enough to force that sort of issue. Like, yeah, that's just insane. And sometimes even the pace that Navone was playing with was feeding Baez. And honestly, other than that nice patch of 2.5 games in the first set, Navone never really never really was on the front foot in this match. Even if he was on the front foot in the rallies, like it was actually Baez just straight up controlling it from behind. So rough performance, rough final, definitely. Not what we were hoping for. Navone gets up to number 60 in the rankings anyway. Gonna have a lot of chances for himself to, just provide something in the European European clay season. It's gonna be so exciting to watch him there for sure, as he doesn't really start dropping points until June. So even if he doesn't win a match until June, he will be in the top 100, I think. And for Baez, of course, this is also a big run. This is also a career high ranking for him. He's going to be 21st, with actually major chances to get to number 20, because he is playing Santiago next week while Francisco Cerundolo isn't. Then again, as I said, like maybe Baez will not be actually playing in Santiago. Who knows? Maybe he will decide to have a bit of rest after this title, which he definitely deserves. I think both decisions can be argued for. But there's going to be a shot for Sebastian Baez to get into the top 20 soon, largely thanks to this title, obviously. And we'll see how that goes for him. But eventually, you kind of just expect him to maybe make it through, even for like a week or two, especially as he's not defending much until the summer, really. Santiago still, but after that, I mean, he definitely had a bit of a year last year when he's just on top of his game in some patches, but for the most part, not getting that much done either. But we'll see. One more big result, essentially, and he's definitely going to be in the top 20. He could even secure it in Santiago. But yeah, we'll see about that. I guess with that, of course, we're going to end the show. And thank you for joining. Thank you for the comments. Sorry I couldn't bring you a more interesting final, but that's what it is. Still one more Golden Swing event to go in Santiago. We also will have someone there, I think, on the ground, if you may. And obviously there's going to be like the ATP Weekly probably tomorrow. I don't think we've discussed a date yet, but I would assume it's going to be tomorrow when we're going to talk more extensively on these events on on Rio de Janeiro, on Doha and Los Cabos, the events that happened this week. So probably I'll see you guys there. And once again, thank you. Bye.